one night I just said to my dad, I'm like, I need to go to Toronto. And so I did. Like that was it, literally.
Wow.
This is All About the Song.
Welcome to episode 113 of All About the Song. I am your host, Michael McDonnell, and thank you for joining us. On the podcast today, we have Christee Palace. Now, Christee is a musician, artist, songwriter, residing in Toronto, originally from Windsor. We talk about her song, Falling From You, her latest single that was out a couple of weeks before we released this podcast. So we talk about the success of that and the continued success of the song. She also has a great EP called Heart in My Heart, which you can find wherever you listen to music. And do yourselves a favor, after you finish this podcast, go check it out. I was introduced to Christee from Tal Weisman, who works with Christee on her music. Tal has a sister podcast on the Sounds Like Songs YouTube channel that you are watching this on. Everything about the song features the big picture story of artists, kind of everything except for the music. And it's really great. Listen, do yourselves a favor and check that out as well. Please subscribe, hit the notification button, and like these podcast episodes you're finding on YouTube and the Sounds Like Songs Network. And now a quick word from our friends and sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Hailed, which is a coffee shop located at Yonge and Gerrard in the downtown Toronto area. If you are a coffee drinker, you must try Hailed. They are ranked consistently among the top 10 coffee houses in Toronto. Visit the store and support local Toronto-based businesses. Be sure to place your order at www.hailed.ca. This episode is also brought to you by Flickly. Thank you, Richard Atkin, friend of the podcast. We really appreciate your support for the Canadian music scene. Rich is the founder and CEO of Flickly, a premier video animation studio, working with large brands and enterprises across the globe. Learn more about Rich and his work at Flickly by going to the website flickly.com, FLIKLI.com, and connect with Richard Atkin on LinkedIn. So here we are, episode 113 of All About the Song, featuring Christee Palace. Christee, congratulations on the new single, Falling For You.
Thanks.
First off, it's a really great song.
Thank you so much.
How does
I
it?
appreciate that.
And well, also it's being streamed. I'm watching your Instagram stories as it continues to rise. And It's one of those things where you're like, oh, wow, 20,000. Oh, wow, 50,000. Oh, wow, 70,000. And it's like, when did she post 50? Oh, that was like a week ago.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to have it out in the world?
It's, it's really cool. I knew when I first wrote this song that, I was expecting good things from it. You never know how people are going to take it, of course. But it was one of those songs. It was just such a feel-good, fun, energetic song. And especially performing it live, it was my favorite one to do. So I'm like, I can't wait to release this. So just knowing that it's, people are liking it and they're adding it to their playlists, and it's nice. I'm stoked.
Well, absolutely. Everything is so different now. Obviously, we're in COVID-19.
Mm-hmm.
Releasing songs is so different because you're not turning around and performing it live.
Right.
The attention that it's receiving in terms of streams and downloads, it's got to be, it's more of the pie, I guess, now than it was before.
Oh, for sure. And that's, it's such a hard place to be in right now. I think as a musician or artist, bands too, you're releasing music, but what's the follow-up? So we have just the streams, and now how do we we get it out there? How do we perform to people? How do people discover us? And it's been tricky, but I'm definitely grateful that we still have the streaming platforms. There's some form of something that we can continue, keep things as normal as possible.
Absolutely. What was the inception of this song like?
Oh, well, when did I write this song? Last year, funnily enough. I wrote the song about my boyfriend, Jaden, who started out as my photographer when I first moved to Toronto. So I know that makes me sound a little weird.
It's okay. Everyone meets somebody somewhere.
Listen, yeah, it's not like that. It worked out, and that's
of course.
Anyways, it makes me sound horrible. I wrote the song about him, and the time that I first wrote it, I was actually promoting my first single, Hard in My Heart, which was the first one that I had released when I first moved here. And anyway, so, a few months went by and we got into the studio, and actually Tal is a co-writer on the track as well. And Tal Weissman, for those who are watching. And it came together so nicely. I think it's a huge contrast from my last releases. My last releases were very bold and, dark, if you will, more dark pop. And this is definitely, like I said, a flirty and kind of sassy track. And it just shows a different side of me. So I'm happy. But I think it needed to be like that for the type of song that it is.
Well, in contrast to the single Hard in My Heart, it's literally, I don't want to say it's the exact opposite of the feeling, but
it's different though.
do you feel like you had to put that song out, or maybe be in that space to now be releasing music about more of a vulnerability?
Ooh, absolutely. So, at the time that I released Hard in My Heart and, my first EP, so that's the title track off of the Hard in My Heart EP. And that whole EP, like I said, was dark. And I was in that sort of headspace, I think, when I moved here. I think a lot of those tracks were just, they represented a time in my life that was a lot darker. And, the whole concept of Hard in My Heart was to shut out things that hurt you and be stronger on your own. And, so to write a track like this and release it, it really is the opposite of what I, had been promoting before. But I think it kind of gives the listeners a chance to get into my headspace now. I'm in a much different place, and I love it. So.
Well, it's interesting because that's usually, that's kind of one of those things where it's like you feel vulnerable and you like tighten up emotionally.
Yeah.
And you like project the almost like the at a arm's length distance feeling.
Right.
And then once you get that out, you also get to like release it.
Yeah. It's releasing it as a whole, like once you're allowing people to hear that a different side of you. I think it's interesting just to see how people take that. And like I said, initially with all those other releases, it was just definitely a huge contrast. So to see people really liking it and just understanding, where I'm at right now. And a lot of people that are in my life know, like they obviously know about Jaden and that whole story. So it's really cool for people to hear how things happened with us and the fact that he's such a huge part of my career now, because he's my, my content creator. He does my photography, my videos, everything. So it's cool to have him on the journey. So,
well, absolutely. And he does a really great job too.
Oh, he's so good. I don't get it. Surprises me every day because he's so good at everything. I'm just like, what the hell, man? Like, how are you so good at everything? Oh my God. But no, I don't know where I would be without him. So I was just, it was my, little way of kind of giving back to him in a sense. Like, here's a song that I wrote about you and now everyone knows.
Well, and it's a really good, time caps too, because when you write a song about like a particular feeling of your journey, you're able to kind of capture like that raw emotion as well.
Oh, absolutely.
And kind of transport back to it.
And I can't really write things any other way. Like it's everything that I write. I honestly struggle sometimes if I have to sit there and force myself to write when I have nothing to write about. Like it's hard for me to do that. So anything that I write is something I've experienced or, something significant to my life in some capacity. Just feel like it's, the listener they can tell when it's something personal or if it's a personal story to you. And that's like kind of music I want to write,
With that said, how do you feel about once the music is released?
It's so awesome. Like it's just such a cool, I don't know how to explain it. It's like your baby, and you're letting people in your world a little bit, it's like I said, everything is so personal to me that when I release something, it's just like, oh, here you go. Here's a little piece of my heart.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's really cool. And I think it's an even better experience when people are relating to it and they are enjoying your song, and like I said, adding it to their playlist and messaging you saying that they, went through something similar or they, they're working out to the track. Like it's cool. I love it.
It is unique when I find like when friends find that like moment that they're just with you and they're like, hey, I didn't know about da-da-da-da-da or something. And you're like, that's a little bit of an exaggeration. Well, that's good,
Yeah, in this case. But that always happens. I recently wrote a song called I Don't Like My Friends, which was very controversial. And I posted up a little clip of it because, I was saying to myself, this is the kind of song that I feel like a lot of people can relate to. Not that you hate all your friends all the time, but it's, it's specific to me feeling like that at one point or another. And I feel like a lot of people have felt like that. Like you can't trust the people around you or you're skeptical of them or, they make you feel bad. And so I wrote this song and I posted up a little clip. You wouldn't believe the amount of people that messaged me. Who's this song about?
No.
This is about me?
This isn't about me, right?
Oh my God, it's hilarious. But I'm like, no. Like everything's fine. that's what I do. Like I'm a songwriter. If something sticks out to me and I need to write about it, I do. But it doesn't mean that I'm like, that's my headspace all the time. You know? It's interesting.
Well, it is. And I've had some conversations with some friends recently that have released songs where they feel like the person it was written about is going to get it. And I have kind of said to them, like, so what? Like,
sometimes they do.
And maybe this is, maybe
they need to hear it.
Yeah, or maybe they don't, and they just walk up to you and go, wow, what a great track. That person you're talking about, what a real, what a real jerk.
A little part of me kind of hopes, like, if I write a song about somebody specific, especially if it's someone who's, like, done you wrong or, there's a part of me that does it for that purpose. Like, I want you to hear this because it's all the things that maybe I couldn't say to your face, or maybe I was too emotional at the time to tell you, or that's what I love. I love that about songwriting. I love that you can just, it's you write whatever the hell you want and people have to deal with it. Like, sorry, it's how I express myself. It's how I get past things. It's how I move forward in life. And
I wrote a song about, a then girlfriend as we like broke up. It wasn't a long relationship.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like huge heartache, but I put a song together and it was so poignant and really good. And like, you then like, finish the song, arrange it, mix it, produce it, master it. So like so much time has gone by and I felt like I owed it to her to like send it to her because she knew that I was working on this song in a sense. And I sent it to her and I didn't get a response back. And I learned a valuable lesson that day. It's like, don't send ex-girlfriends songs you wrote about a like 3-month relationship a year and a half later.
See, I think it depends. It depends on how the relationship ended, or I don't know. Like,
I mean, just imagine like you're at work on a Tuesday and you get this message of this like really produced song that someone's been working on.
It's about you.
I felt like sending a follow-up email being like, by the way, like, I'm not thinking about you.
Did I get a review or anything on the song? No?
Yeah. I was like, you can send your rebuttal. No.
Yeah, no, seriously. Yeah. Let me know when you want to write a track about me and send it back to me.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I've done the same thing. I've sent it to people or, and part of me sometimes, like I said, I write it because I have to. I feel like it helps me to get past certain things that have happened. And, if it helps me to send it directly to them so they know it's about them.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's closure for me,
Do you feel like you're able to communicate yourself effectively in regular life?
I think so. I mean, I guess it's the same as anything else, though. It's just circumstantial. I think it depends on what it is. I think heartbreak is such a hard thing. It's hard to be open with somebody, especially if you're the one getting hurt. I think that is a very it's a very tricky thing to talk about, and everyone handles things differently. Like, I think some people, they have to communicate their feelings right away, and they need to talk about it with that person that hurt them. I think it depends what it is. Sometimes I'm like that, but sometimes, saying nothing and then writing a song about it when you've had time to accept reality, I think that, I'm more so like that, I think.
It's good in that sense because you can get like that beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah.
And you get that bridge.
It's all about the closure, man. All about the closure.
Well, and they're also like to say on the opposite side, like there is sometimes a really great feeling to write something in the moment.
Oh,
to express how you feel to then it's like that letter that you write and don't send.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I've seen both sides of it. Sometimes I have a ton of songs that I've written about certain things that have happened to me in my life or certain people, and they have no idea. Like it's, they're just chilling there. Or if I have released it and they don't know about it, it's out there in the world now. And you always have to wonder, like, I wonder if they know this song was inspired by them. But yeah, I don't know. I've done it always. Sometimes I keep it to myself, depending on what the situation is, and sometimes I share it.
Yeah, totally.
Here you go. This was about you, and how do you feel about that?
I totally relate with you on the idea of like heartbreaking being such a well for creativity.
Yeah.
I don't want to say go-tos, but do you have like other areas that you like to write about?
Explore? Oh yeah. Like I find with myself, especially when I'm alone and I have a lot of time to think about life and what's happening, especially nowadays, with what's happening. I write a lot about like just where life is going and what I think happens afterwards. And I don't know. The depths of my mind is just never. I'm constantly thinking about stuff, But obviously, when it's something you've experienced, like relationships are always going to be the number one thing. That's the number one thing that people write about because you almost have to as a songwriter. It's all built up, and you got to let it out, and that's what I love about it. But really, anything significant that's happened to me, I need to write about it because otherwise it gets bottled up,
What frustrates me about artists like Paul McCartney, for example, who will write the most beautiful song. And I was recently on a trip and Martha, My Dear came on the radio.
Oh, okay.
Martha, my dear, da-na. And the song's about his French bulldog.
Oh.
Like, it's not about... and you listen to some of the lyrics and you're like, this is a little weird.
But everything is like composed so wonderfully. I was interested to see how that was going to go. My dad loves Paul McCartney.
Me too, but I love that he can put the emotion that I would imagine you and I would put like something so traumatic, like heartbreak. Yeah. He can do that with his affection towards his dog.
It's so funny, eh?
And I think that that's like such an amazing skill, but
it is.
Kind of shows like his ability to like, well, first off, he had to write so many songs and release them in such few time, like a short amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I don't want to know what lyrics for the Beatles in particular are about.
What it's actually about.
Because it kind of is almost like that Jerry Seinfeld feel where it's like a comedian once said most comedians go to the store to get groceries. Jerry Seinfeld goes there for material. And I have a bit of that artistry aspect with the Beatles because they're just able to like
take anything
and just make it amusing
song out of it. Yeah. It's incredible. And again, I guess if it's something hugely significant to your life, it's always easy to write about something like that. But I find it interesting, like what their headspace was at the time of, them writing certain hits that they had. And I struggle sometimes if it's something that I don't really directly connect with, or I have difficulty writing sometimes. People talk about the writer's block and whatever, and I do writing every day. But when it comes to writing songs, if I have to sit there and try to write something from nothing, and I have nothing to write about, there's nothing significant happening to me, I don't really feel strongly about this, I have a tough time. And I might be able to compose, like a first verse or maybe a chorus, and expanding on that is tricky. But then I guess that's where co-writes come in, right? Get other people's perspectives.
Well, I was going to ask, I know that you've done co-writes with Tal Weisman, for example, and the songs sound fantastic.
Yeah, thanks.
Have you ever been in a situation co-writing for other artists?
I have at home, but what usually happens is like I would write like the full song or at least 80% of a song, and then bring it to the table, and then someone kind of adds to it. The co-writing thing, me writing for other people, it's interesting. I've done it. I find that everything that I write about, like I said, though, is so personal to me that I end up keeping the songs for myself. But I think it's important. It's important to do that, even just as a songwriter, just to get better, at taking someone else's idea and, putting your own little twist on it and then writing about it. But it depends. Like I said, I got to be passionate about it. Otherwise it's tough for me. Yeah.
It's interesting because I've kind of refrained from doing it in the last little while, but I was doing co-writes for other artists' consideration. Yeah. And it was very freeing to put myself in the headspace of somebody I wasn't, but I went back to just me being more honest about myself, pretending to be someone else.
Yeah, it's not funny.
I was like, you could try this song, but I think I'd do way better with it.
It's literally me, so I feel like it's better for me. Yeah. I don't know. I have a tough time with that. I'm definitely not the type of songwriter that could just be a songwriter and write for other people only. Like I definitely need to have a hand in it because has to reflect me somehow, for sure.
Right, absolutely. But now, where did you originally grow up?
I'm from Windsor, Ontario. So I grew up there. My whole family's musical. So my dad owns a music conservatory in Windsor. And,
cool.
Yeah. Back in the day, he used to play in bands, like in the 80s. He had a bunch of rock bands. So really cool. I come from a huge music background, which is sweet.
With that in mind, was this always becoming a musician yourself something you aspired to do?
I always did, I think, especially when I was younger. Like I was always writing and performing, but I had issues growing up with confidence, and music was always there. It was just normal to me. So for me, I just felt like, okay, so people do music and then they go to school. Like I just thought it was a regular part of everyone's life, and I didn't really realize until I got a little bit older that it was pretty special. Like it doesn't happen to everybody, and not everyone has this giant music background. But when I was younger, like even throughout school, like I wasn't the most academic child, and I always kind of went to towards music. I gravitated to it because that was really the only thing that I felt super, super confident with. But doing it for other people was a different story. Like I kind of hid it from people for a long time until I got to high school. That's where I did some of my first performances. It wasn't until like halfway through high school. So I don't know, but it's been a crazy journey. I find that when you're not the most confident in yourself, doing things that scare you is a good thing. Good scary things.
Yeah, when you're done.
Yes.
But up until that moment, it can be pretty daunting.
It is crippling. Yeah, and I still struggle with that. I get into my own head all the time, and I overthink and I overanalyze, and it makes me anxious about everything. Like I still struggle with that. So growing up, it was so much worse until I just started taking opportunities, because I would see people around me doing what I wanted to be doing, and I'd be like, so is this what your life's going to be? You're just, you're going to let other people do what you want to be doing, and you're going to have to watch that? That was more painful to me.
Wow.
So because of that, that's sort of what gave me the push, and obviously my parents have been super supportive, and coming from that family, like I've never felt that it wasn't something I could do. I just didn't know that I, had the ability to do it. So it just kind of made myself.
Well, that's
it. So.
I mean, that's amazing too, to think that you have like a supportive family that understand it behind you. Because sometimes a lot of people's artistic prowess is based on the fact that they're told no.
Right.
And then it's like, I'll show you.
And that happens to a lot of people. So I'm fortunate in that sense, because my my family, it's always been a part of their life too. And they know that it's something important to me, and I've been doing it forever. So, even though it took me until high school to like show people that I could sing and I could perform and this is what I wanted to do, like it's, I'm happy that I have their support, because it's already a hard like lifestyle, it's a very hard career path, and unless you have the support of people around you, it can be really tricky. So
yeah, it can. And that's just like an extra thing to have to deal with.
Stressful thing, like whether it's, friends, family, girlfriend, boyfriend, whoever, but to have people in your circle of, of people supporting what you're doing, it helps, because there's some really high highs, but then there's extreme lows that I've dealt with myself. And I already have, like anxiety, and I have things that I deal with on my own that already kind of set me back a little bit. And, to be doing a career path that's, it's hard. It's not easy. So to have support is important.
What were your first songs like? When did you first start writing songs?
Oh my God.
Hopefully.
They were so shit. I came out of the womb writing, hits. I used to take songs. So I grew up listening to rock music. So I have like a classic rock background, but I loved pop as well. And I used to take, those girl band songs, or even like Britney Spears, for example. I would take the melodies of her songs and write my own words as like a 6-year-old or 7-year-old.
Oh, that's so cool.
But what the hell are you writing about?
Yeah, but still, like the idea of doing that is pretty awesome.
I used to do that. I did that all the time. So I would take. That's before I knew how to, construct my own melodies and stuff, and before I knew how to play instruments. That would be the first thing that I did. And I've kept all of my little, like, I called them my music journals, where I would write songs, and they made no sense. Like, they were just like this one giant like run-on sentence, but I knew how they went, like, because I would put those melodies, to my words, and even though they didn't make sense, that's how I started it. So, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
It's interesting. Well, for sure.
I mean, you got to find a way. You got to find a way to like get into it and just like start doing it. And I kind of think like whatever you do works. Like, I mean, pretty much like what you were doing is an advanced form of learning covers.
Yeah, exactly. And it's interesting because I come from that music background, like, the debate has always been, are you born with it just because you're born into a music family, or, is it hard work, or did it just, did you kind of pursue it enough to get to where you are now? And I think it's a little of both, I think it's you take what from around you. And I grew up in this family where music was normal. Like, that was just a normal thing. My dad, like, he sings and plays guitar and he writes and he produces, and he's a teacher. Like, so that was just normal to me. So picking up a guitar or playing piano or singing or writing was just, I was like, yeah, this is what my parents did, and this is what my dad did, and so this is what I'm going to do. And as a young kid, and then it just becomes routine, it becomes part of your life, right? So
that's really cool. The only thing though is that if you're like too much of a natural at it, I find that most people who are just too good at something get bored of it and stop pursuing it. Like, you need something that continues to push it forward, and that's where that drive becomes so important.
Right.
Because if you had just stopped at changing the words to popular songs, like, you wouldn't be here today.
That would have been it. Yeah, exactly. And I think it depends on, your specific atmosphere. And I think because, my dad, when I was younger, he would like make us perform. Like, we would have to, because he would put together these little talent shows, and he would say, yeah, you're singing. And I'd be like, wah! Like, I didn't want to. So awful. But now I'm so happy that he did, because and I'm a singing and piano teacher now as well. And, seeing some of these younger kids and, their parents are like, she's not practicing, so I'm thinking of taking her out of lessons. And I'm like, don't. And not even just for my sake, like for your child's sake, like keep them in, especially when I see the kids that are inspired by music when they're super young, but they just don't like practicing. I was the same. And I feel like every kid is like that, but keep them in lessons, because when they get older, they're going to be so happy, you know, and it's just going to become such a big part of their life, especially if they're already kind of musical, you know?
Well, and too, they might get interested in music at like 16 and 17 and pick up a guitar and all of a sudden go, oh, wow, all those piano lessons, all of a sudden, oh, if this is a G, then a C is C. Oh, I got this. I know how to play the guitar. Yeah. And those kids, when I was in high school, drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Because they would just be able to like figure out, they're like, oh, if this is in major, well, the relative minor would be, okay, here it is. Here's our bridge. And you'd be like, whoa.
What? Yeah, it's interesting because I did start super young, and I learned theory, like I learned music theory, but I don't know the ins and outs of music theory so much so that I can, do all this crazy shit. Like it's not, I know enough to, like I can play guitar and piano pretty fluently, and I know enough theory to be able to construct and, compose my own music, but I don't claim to be like a pianist or a crazy guitar player. Like I don't know a ton of theory, but I like that because I've also, heard the other side of that, where knowing too much theory it's hard then to even be able to write, because you're constantly hearing different things and you're so set on making things perfect theoretically. And
you get obsessed with form.
Yeah. Instead of just allowing yourself.
That just doesn't work.
And that happens, right?
You're like, yeah, but does it feel good? Does it sound good?
Right.
Does it sound wrong?
Right. Exactly.
It's mathematically maybe incorrect, but
I think it has to be a little of both. I think you need some of the theory, but you need to just be able to trust, your natural instincts and your feel as an artist, and being able to hear something and just kind of mix the two together, as opposed to just doing things, the right way, and, or just doing things based on your feel. Like I think it has to be a little both. At least it's like that for me. So
what was the experience like leaving Windsor, coming to Toronto? And the motivation for it, I imagine, was for music.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I moved here for music, and honestly, it was like an overnight decision. Like I knew eventually I wanted to be here, but
sorry to interrupt, were you playing shows in Windsor at the time? Okay.
Yeah. So I actually sang in a wedding band for like 8 years of my life. So I was doing that for a while, and kind of like after I went to university as well. So I got my degree in drama and education, actually.
Cool. From University of Windsor?
Yes. Okay. University of Windsor. So I went to university, and I had a couple opportunities during university that made me realize like I want to be, an artist. Like this is what I want to do. And I, again, throughout my entire life had been writing and performing, and I started recording my own music. So, it just got to the point where I said, okay, like at this point, I need to figure out what my path is. Like, am I going to go off to teachers college, or am I going to try this? And yeah, I had a few opportunities that, I got to perform in front of like a shit ton of people, and it just changed. It changed my entire life, and I knew that I had to do it. And I had a conversation with my dad halfway through university, and I was like, I don't want to be in university. Like I want to, I want to be an artist. I want to be a pop artist, and I need to do this. And my dad said, okay. He's like, I'll help you, and I'll do whatever you need me to do. He's like, but you're going to finish university first. So, because initially I was saying like, I want to drop it. Like that's what I wanted, because I was so unhappy. But I did it. I finished, but all throughout I was working on my music. I was writing. I was, practicing for 7 hours a day, like, just getting better. And when I was done university, that's when I went, I really tried hard for a few years, and I went back and forth from Windsor to Toronto, and it's not the same as being here, So yeah, one night I just said to my dad, I'm like, I need to go to Toronto. And so I did. Like that was it, literally. Wow. Yeah, I just had that talk with him, and I actually moved in with one of my best friends, that was so awesome how that worked out. She had moved to pursue acting here, so I moved in with her my first year here, and that was helpful just to kind of make it a smooth transition. But it's hard because I'm very close with my family, so that was really difficult. But do what you got to do. Right?
Absolutely. And Windsor's not too far away.
No, it hasn't been an issue at all. When I first moved, it feels like you're, moving across, across the earth. But it's been great. Like I go home like relatively often, and especially given the current circumstance right now, like I've had a lot of time to see them, which has been awesome. So yeah, I'm grateful for that.
It's tricky because I want to say like what was the experience like with the Toronto music scene, and then obviously I'll have to asterisk that with pre-COVID. Like I can say that some of the most interesting musical connections that I've made have not been Friday night 10 p.m. at the Horseshoe Tavern. It's always been 10 a.m. at a coffee shop. It's always been like, Sunday afternoon at the Pickle Barrel, where like your manager says too loud, like, we just need a new producer. And someone getting a sandwich goes like, oh, I'm a music producer. And and that is one of the nice things about being in a city like this.
Yep. Everybody, everyone you meet knows somebody or is connected to somebody or has done something for somebody. And it's just, it's a stepping stone, and you just don't get those kinds of opportunities in Windsor, and I knew that going back and forth for years. I was like, it's not the same. No. And like you said, things can happen daily. Just you're walking down the street and someone, and it's happened to me before. Some people see my green hair. Oh, I love your hair. Oh, thanks so much. So what do you do? Are you like a hairstylist? No, actually, I'm a singer. You're a singer. Where can I find your music? And it's like, it's just random stuff like that happens all the time. But that being said, it's important once you're here to meet people. Like you have to put yourself out there, right?
You do, and I think for some people that's like a really hard thing to do. I think like for me, it's not. It's why this podcast exists. It's because I was just tired of going out late at night. But honestly, it was just so magical to, go to a show, like a show on a Wednesday night, and you see a band, and like, you may share a bass amp with somebody or see somebody, and then you see them again at a show like on Friday, and you're like, oh, hey, like you were at that show, I'm at this show. And then all of a sudden you just start like connecting and developing these like relationships and stuff. And
absolutely. And that's the most important part I found since being here. Like, you have to take opportunities. You have to do things. Even if it's not even music related, just get out there so people can see your face and they can learn your name and you can tell them what you do. And then they'll think of you for other things. And it's, but you don't do that by just, sitting at home or being in, a town like Windsor. It's, and not to bash that because
I love Windsor.
I love Windsor. Like it's my home. And I'm so grateful because when I was in Windsor, there's also a ton of incredible musicians there, like incredible outside of my family, like so many. And I learned a lot of what I know just from them, just looking up to, those musicians and stuff. So if that's what you want to do and you want to stay there, like that's amazing. For me, like I just wanted to reach more people, like I wanted to do it on a bigger scale, I guess you could say. So,
well, right now when we're recording this and when it'll come out, it'll be even more, but you are reaching a lot of people. And again, congratulations to you, because I think the body of work you've put together is really impressive. And I'm blown away and just a general fan.
Oh, you're so cute. Thank you.
What's next for you?
Oh, that's a great question, Michael. Great question. Just writing. I mean, we're approaching, the, Halloween and Christmas now. So no new music until the new year for me, but I'm just constantly writing, maybe putting out some Christmas music. We'll see.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've never done that before. So I think that's going to be really cool. So I'm probably going to do that. And, in the meantime, just, ride this wave. I mean, like what else do we do, right? Being in a pandemic is tricky as a musician and an artist, but it's kind of kept me on my toes too. Like, how do I keep doing this? So live music is no more. So now what do I do? And I've had to figure out ways to stay relevant, to do things that are fresh and to keep content up. And in a way it's been good because it's forced me to do things that I may not have done otherwise, but we'll see.
I'd like to thank Christee for being on the podcast. Check out her music and her socials down in the description. We've put links for everything. If you are listening to this podcast on audio, we are on video, so check us out on our YouTube channel, Sounds Like Songs Network. If you're watching the video and you ever wanted to listen to the podcast while you did your errands, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts, we are there. And please, if you can, write a review, comment, like, everything helps. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube page. It goes a long way and we'd really appreciate it. So for Christee Palace, I'm Michael McDonnell. Episode 113 of All About the Song is in the books. We'll see you next week.